r/askreddit. What is the strangest thing you've seen that you cannot explain?
When I worked in the medical field, I had a dream one night about a patient of mine, a very kind elderly woman whom I visited once or twice a week. In the dream, she came to me, dancing, and called out to me that she wasn't hurting anymore. I was so happy watching her dance after seeing her decline for years. When I got to work the next morning, I told my coworkers about the dream, and later that morning, we got the call from her daughter that she had passed away the night before. I cannot explain that, but I'm glad I told my coworkers about it before the call and not after, otherwise they'd never have believed me. Such a bizarre experience, but so wonderful to feel she was at peace.
This is awfully sad, but also really sweet.
I had a similar dream about my dog, only it was telling me he was upset that I never came to see him anymore. I was living a few states away at this time after college graduation, got the call the next morning that he passed in his sleep. It still really bothers me.
Squirrel wearing a leaf cape.
Got pics?
No, I can't explain.
I saw a beer bottle dropped from a 13th floor window into bricks and it bounced.
Glass bottles are strong. Don't up with them.
Except for when they fall like 2 feet. Then they shatter into the smallest, most annoying pieces of glass to clean up, that you still find 2 weeks after it fell.
4 Amish men in a room counting money with a money counter while simultaneously weighing out my ounce of weed. Just wasn't what I was expecting.
Back in the 80s, an Amish run drug ring was broken up near me. Said ring would actually cross the border into Canada, smuggling their product in their buggies. I still remember a Canadian border guard testifying they never searched their vehicles because they were Amish and couldn't conceive of them doing something illegal.
Haha! Reminds of the old story about the guy coming to the border between Spain and France every week on a motorcycle carrying 2 bags of sand. Border guard searched the bags every time but never found anything, so he had to let him through. Guard has his last day at work before retiring. Guy comes to the border again, carrying his 2 bags of sand. Guard says, "Look, man, it's my last day. I'm not going to bust you. You're clearly smuggling something across the border all this time, but we never find anything. What is it?" Guy says, "I'm smuggling motorcycles."
I was driving away from a gas station. Out of nowhere, a guy in a suit comes running up to my minivan and starts yanking the door. As if he knew me, he began pleading con. Let me in. Luckily, my doors were locked. I asked him who the hell he was through my window. He looked genuinely surprised that I wouldn't let him in. After I refused to let him in, his facial expression inverted, as if he just realized something horrible. He let go of my car, said something to the effect of, "You're one of them, aren't you?" Then he ran away behind the gas station and into the woods. Full suit and tie. Nice shoes, extremely frantic in nature. Zero explanation. I'm praying it was some elaborate troll or meth or something, because the look in that man's eyes was pure terror when I didn't let him in.
Standing outside of a convenience store, I saw 2 different cars park, about a minute or so apart, and go in the store. It was obvious the 2 didn't know each other. At least it seemed. After shopping, they each left in the other's car. Still can't explain it today without going down the RCII, a conspiracy route. Very good chance this was a very large, nefarious deal. Drugs, guns, money, or humans in the trunk.
Could be, acting like they don't know each other especially. Couriers swapping cars if there is a hide within the car doing baton, relay style moving.
My 3-year-old daughter walked up to my husband one night and straight up said, "Grandpa's dead." A few moments later we get a call from my husband's sister saying that their father had passed away. Happened a few months back. Still creeps me out. Kids are so creepy sometimes.
Went hiking late at night with my buddy when something big and bright flew right over us above the tree line. It was so bright we couldn't even look at it, and whatever it was, it didn't make a sound. Actually, it was probably the most quiet moment of my life. I remember saying, "What the fuck?" But no sound came out of my mouth. Only lasted a few seconds and it was over. I've seen meteors that lit up the whole sky almost like day, but were so high you couldn't hear them.
Was driving home from work one afternoon with my brother and cousin in the car. As we were sitting in traffic, I noticed high up in the sky and way out in the distance, a small, motionless black square. I pointed it out, and both my brother and my cousin spotted it quickly, so I know it wasn't in my head. It just remained still for about 45 minutes, and then the sun had set, and it was too dark to spot it any longer. It just stayed in the exact same spot the whole time, and while it was really far away, you could still tell it was a perfect square shape. Once I got home, I went online to see if there were any mentions of it anywhere, and there was nothing. To this day, I still think about it and wonder what the F I was looking at. I was actually having a conversation a few days ago with a group about weird things we've seen, and someone had mentioned a similar black square in the sky story.
When me and my best friend were teenagers, we were walking home during the wee hours of the morning when a drunk guy basically acted like we knew him and invited us to eat. For some reason, we actually came with him and we ate at this 24/7 joint where he told us about his adventures around the world, showed pictures, etc. We hung out until it was around 5 a.m. and walked home together. I have no idea who he effing was. I still don't. Probably just a time traveler wanting to hang with a historical figure before they got famous.
In the future, time travel is invented, but the time machine can only transport drunk people.
My grandfather told me a really cool story. There's a couple of things that grow or rot in trees that glow. Google foxfire. He saw an owl completely covered in this stuff flying around at night sometime in the 1930s. Google foxfire. Mozilla Chrome.
Ask Jeeves about Netscape Navigator.
I was once standing in line at Target. A mother and her, I guess, 3-year-old were in front of me in the checkout lane. I never met them before in my life. The child was riding in the shopping cart, and the mother went forward to better unload it. The child looks dead at me, smiles, laughs, and said my first name very clearly twice. I have an uncommon first name, which made it even stranger. That kid had Shinigami eyes.
My dad, sister, and I all saw something that wasn't an animal and wasn't human. This was in winter 2015 in rural Saskatchewan. We were driving and it ran out in front of us on the road. It was so fast it was a dark blur, but we all agree we saw long, gangly limbs like a deer, but it had human-looking arms and legs. We still talk about it.
Not exactly seen, but it's strange. I was around 6, and on Wednesday evening I went to bed. I woke up and it was Friday. I remember asking my mom, why is it Friday when yesterday it was Wednesday? She said yesterday was Thursday, obviously. I asked her what I did on Thursday because the last thing I remember is going to sleep on Wednesday. She named some activities, and I remembered none of that. I never found out why I don't remember the Thursday.
This happened to my friend a couple of weeks ago. Hers were caused by medication that she sometimes took, but this time she completely blacked out and woke up days later. During that time, she apparently woke up, did chores around the house and talked to people, but she only remembers going to sleep and then waking up 2 days later. It was super weird, not only that a medicine she took before had this effect, but it also never happened again.
A long time ago, when I was in preschool, school had just ended, and I was the first one, adult or child, at the exit, which was a tall gate with one of those C-shaped latches that slips over a pole to keep the gate shut. I walked up to it and reached for the latch, but alas, I was very small and the latch was at least 3 feet above me. I stepped back and decided to just wait for the adults to come set me free, but then the latch just lifted and the gate opened. I saw it clearly. There was nobody around and no one touched it. Still have no idea what that could have been. Childhood telekinesis. Who knows?
You're a wizard, Harry.